Meow, welcome to PodKat. This is Kat. Oh shoot, I did it backwards again. Oh my gosh. Welcome to PodKat. This is my pod. My name is Kat. I can't speak today. This is my second podcast recording of the day. And it's still April 16th. And I'm going to go ahead and let someone else speak. Hi.
Hi.
This is my wonderful friend. She is in my Kim collection. So it's a small exclusive group of very important people in my life. And I have to shout out that today is my high school Kim, who was in one of my podcasts already. It is her birthday, April 16th. And yesterday was your birthday.
It was. I'm so old.
Happy birthday. How was your birthday?
Thank you. It was lovely. It was weird, but it was lovely. I went to work like normal, but when I woke up, Alex had decorated the house with light up balloons and streamers, which was adorable.
This is your husband, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yes, my husband, which is still new and super cool. But yeah, he had decorated. Then I went to work, and I didn't tell anyone because I just am weird about that. But then I came home.
I thought you meant you didn't tell anyone you went to work. And I was like, I didn't know it was secret. You mean you didn't tell anyone at work that it was your birthday?
No, I wish I didn't go to work. I wish that was the secret. But yeah, no, it was fun. And then we had cake. Alex got a piñata. So we did a piñata with live streaming with my mom. It's really embarrassing. And then we just did presents and played a game called Throw Burrito, which is really fun.
I was going to ask about the piñata, but now I need to know more about Throw Burrito. Is it in any way resembling the game Hot Potato?
I don't know what Hot Potato is, but it's a card game dodgeball game combo. So you throw burritos at people.
Hot Potato is a game that you play as a child where, now I don't even know how you play it. How do you play Hot Potato? You have a potato, and then you throw it around in the group, and there's a song, and then whenever the song ends, whoever has the potato is the loser.
No, it wasn't that fun. We just threw foam burritos at each other, and it was really intense. Oh.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry. What kind of piñata?
It was just a regular piñata, looked like a little donkey. He put candy and dog treats in it. So that the dogs would want to play, but they got really scared when I was swinging a bat around like a lunatic, and they ran inside.
I didn't know that I had this passion within me, but I went to a 1-year-old's birthday party a few months ago, and there was a narwhal piñata there, and I don't know why, but I was like, I don't want the piñata to be killed. It really bothered me. And thankfully, the 1-year-old was also a pacifist and was like, no, this is not going to die. But other children at the party were not pacifists and murdered it, so...
Well, I fall into that category of murderer, apparently. I'm so sorry.
The 1-year-old, like myself, was more interested in the cake.
Fair.
Yeah, candy trumps murder.
Does it?
Although the piñata has candy. I guess I just don't want to have to work for it.
It was a lot of work, and then we had to clean it up out of the dirt, and I was like, I don't want this dirt candy.
Oh, you guys actually did it outside.
Yeah, it was before it started snowing, so.
Oh, yes, that brings us to what I forgot. I'm off my game today. I just did, I recorded a podcast, and we ended up talking an additional 3 hours after, which was delightful, but I'm trying to remember where my brain is. So I did an intro. Who are you, and where are you?
I am Kim, the other Kim, and I am in Colorado. I'm right outside of Denver in Wheat Ridge, and it is a snowy, blizzardy day today.
Okay, thank you. And you said you went to work. Do you want to share what you do and how you've been impacted so far by pandemic stuff?
Yeah, so I am a teacher's aide, which most teacher's aides are not working right now, but I work in youth corrections, and sadly our kids still have to come to school because they're in jail. So we are just going to work like regular. We still have full day of classes. What I mostly do is testing with kids, so I'm still just doing everything the same, as we can no longer mix kids from different units. So I can't pull a kid from one pod and another kid from a different pod and test them at the same time. I can only do one pod at a time. So it's just like slow and kind of weird, and I have to clean everything like 25 times a day. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting to see how the coronavirus is like viewed through these kids' eyes, because they don't get any information firsthand. It's all through like phone calls and staff, and so it's just really interesting.
I've heard about how a lot of prisons are doing releases of nonviolent offenders or people who had good behavior, and it's like they're trying to empty the prisons out a little bit because of the pandemic. But I was wondering, I mean, I guess these kids, some of them probably don't have anywhere else to go, honestly.
So we're also trying to do as many releases as we can.
Okay.
The kids that were within 90 days of release, like just for their like mandatory release date, have mostly all been released, and now they're working on releasing the like lower level offenders. Most of these kids have, if they're close to getting out, they have a transition plan. So that means like, oh, you're going to parole to your mom's house or your sister's house or a group home. So most of these kids have a plan for when they get out. It's just we're trying to like speed some stuff along. So there's some issues with that. But for the most part, most of the kids that could be released are getting released.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I had an episode with a friend, Kayla, who talked about, she works in a sheriff's department, and she was talking about the changes in law enforcement right now.
That's really interesting. And so now they're trying to bring us less kids too. So most of the kids we're getting are like really violent offenders, which is really interesting. We don't have the mix of like low-level drug offenses that we normally get. All the kids that we've gotten have like pretty serious charges, which is really just kind of interesting change in dynamics.
Is your husband still in work right now, or what's happening with him?
So he is working sporadically. He's working at Lockheed Martin, which is like an essential facility, but they keep getting cases of coronavirus there, so they're shutting projects down. So he will be at work, and then they'll be like, okay, leave, because we have to shut down and clean everything. So he's working a little bit, but it's unpredictable.
Well, that was something I wanted to talk to you about today, was you got married this March 12th, and
I did.
How was your experience? I mean, my experience was lovely, but how was your experience of, like, did you guys worry about, I mean, that was still before most stuff was shutting down. Like, I feel like the next week, like March 16th, 17th was when it was like starting to really shut down. So I guess my question would be, did it affect your wedding in any way?
We were so lucky. We literally, I think the day after we got married is when they like shut down all the schools and started putting like restrictions on how many people could be together at one time. So we weren't too impacted. We also were in just like wedding mode that whole week. So we were super unaware of what was going on in the real world, because we were like, flowers, cake, my dress doesn't fit. So we were like doing all this like panic stuff. So we were kind of blissfully unaware of the real world. But yeah, all of our out-of-town guests, including you, were able to come, and I know it impacted your trip. You had to leave early, right?
Yeah, we were supposed to stay another week or so, and we ended up booking it back, but we weren't really paying super close attention to the news. And then the day after your wedding was when Disney closed, and we were like, what's happening? And I mean, like, we had a vague, we had an awareness that it existed, certainly by March, but it's like, I mean, I live in California where an earthquake could kill me at any time, or there's countries that could bomb us. Like, there's so many things that are causes for concern, and you can't live your life totally in fear. So it wasn't even a question for us of like whether or not to travel, because it wasn't that serious as far as we know in the United States at that point. So we were like, yeah, you know, we're going to go there. And then once we got there, I'd say the day after your wedding, like March 13th was when we were like, wow, like Tom Hanks has it. Like it was I got so many texts about that. People were very concerned that I knew that information because I love him. But
he's pulling through, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a champion. He and Rita are doing okay. But yeah, so I was wondering, like, if your wedding had been a week later, I feel like you would have started to be like, what should we do? But you were kind of at the very cusp of like, no one was canceling things that week.
Yeah, we got super lucky. Because if it was a week later, it definitely we wouldn't have had any out of town guests, which is like half of our wedding guests were from out of town. So it would have been a much different experience. And we planned our wedding that day because it coincided with my sister's spring break from school. And it ended up being the biggest blessing because it just wouldn't have happened.
What wouldn't have happened?
The whole wedding. If it was like a month
if it had been a month later. Yeah. Yeah, the April weddings, I've heard about people who decided to just live stream them or decided to postpone it or decided to just do a courthouse wedding and cancel it. So I'm glad
you did. So sad for them. Yeah, I mean, it was... The next couple of days is when, everything started getting real, and I was really worried about my guests getting home. I was worried people were going to get stuck in Colorado because we didn't really know what was happening at that point. Things were changing, like, minute by minute. So I was really worried that people weren't going to be able to get home. But luckily, everyone did. We had one guest who he is in the Army, and the next day he went to drill and was like, you know what, I think I might have coronavirus. I should get tested because he was hungover. Oh. And he ended up getting quarantined in a hotel room for like 2 weeks. And he was fine. He was hungover. He was totally fine.
The drinks were delicious. I enjoyed both.
Oh, good.
Yes, I enjoyed them. You had these fun signature cocktails that were... The one that was like your signature cocktail was so pretty and... People really enjoyed that. It was supposed to have cotton candy, but I think she used rock candy. But it was
opposite.
Opposite.
To have rock candy, but she used cotton candy.
She used cotton candy. Yeah, but it made a really pretty effect. It looked so stunning.
Yes, it turned out fine, and I was all worried about it. And then I was like, if this is the worst thing that happens, if she uses the wrong candy in my drink, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah, I thought it was very lovely. I feel like the rock candy would have been like extra, extra sweet, and there would have been more of it, so you would have kind of been nomming on it for a while. So the cotton candy did its thing. It was
okay.
It was pretty. Well, I'm glad that you didn't have to rearrange all of that. Well, okay, so here's the thing I want to talk to you about today.
Okay.
I have a question for you that I've always wanted to ask you.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I know. The question is, what do you do all day? Not in relation to work, but like, I know so many people who say like, oh, I don't watch film or TV. Like, you're not kidding. Like I feel like when I just now said Tom Hanks, I feel like you vaguely knew who that was. But
I've seen his face on things.
Yeah. But like you're like the one person I can think of who like genuinely doesn't watch that. But you're also like not really on Facebook. And I think that it would be really interesting for you to enlighten me on like, do you have hobbies? Do you read? Like, what are your pastimes?
So I do watch TV.
Okay.
I just don't watch any movies. But the TV I watch like the same 3 shows just on repeat. And it's more like background noise. So like The Office, New Girl, that might be it. Oh my God, I need a life. Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I watch those shows like constantly. They're just like on in the background. So if you ever need a quote from any of those shows, I've got you.
You've got it.
But I don't really know what I do with my life.
Well, honestly, it's I'm impressed. Like, this is not a criticism. This is like I want to be like you. Like, how do you, because I mean, I enjoy, like, I think I've been watching too much TV and I'm trying to switch it out and like go through movies that I intentionally want to consume. That I'm like, oh, I've always heard this movie was good. And so I'm like making a list of like movies that I need to view, but I don't want to just like endlessly stream stuff. And I think that's what ends up happening for me. But I kind of feel like a hot potato after someone needs to pass me around. I feel like I just become a potato. But I really do get very like sluggish. And so I was just like curious, like what does it look like when you come home from work?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not very interesting, but I usually, well, now that the coronavirus is happening, I immediately shower and put my clothes in the wash. So that's been a change, because I used to shower before bed, and it's kind of nice just getting it over with. But then I usually make some popcorn and play with my doggies. They're like literally the best part of my life is my doggies. Alex and I are starting to play a lot of games, like Throw, Burrito, and we play Skip-Bo. We play a lot of games. We like games. We'll play games like on Alexa.
What are games on Alexa?
So there's some where it's like beat the intro, and it'll play like a little snippet of a song, and you push the button, and like whoever pushes the button first gets to guess which song it is. And there's a escape the room on Alexa where you have to like get clues of how to get out of the room. You're not actually in the room. You're just like listening to it. Stuff like that.
Fun. We play Jackbox Games, which is like, I think someone has the phone app and then you can project it like on a TV or something. And then it's like you all are playing the same game on your phone, but you have to be in the same room to do it. So it's hard to explain it. It's basically just a platform to play games. And so we Skype in with like Mary and Aaliyah, and we'll see the thing projected on Mary's computer. But it's like trivia or Pictionary, like those sorts of things we can all play together.
That's cool.
Yeah, those are fun. It sounds kind of similar. But
Yeah,
I also
I'll
really
figure
love
that out.
Yeah, I also really love like card games, and like Kim got me, my wife Kim, I have to use my qualifiers. My wife Kim got me Unstable Unicorns for Christmas.
What is that? That sounds awesome.
It's adorable and also brutal. So it sounds really cutesy, like you're collecting unicorns, you're trying to build your stable, but people can like murder your unicorns. So it's also like vengeful and awful, and you have to like, it's very competitive, but it's really fun because the cards are so cute, and there's like all the different unicorns are cutesy, and you want to like collect they also have like dragons and narwhals and other characters, and so you want to like the cutest, most wonderful stable, but then you want to protect it from other people destroying your stable. So it's a competitive game, but
those are my favorite. That's kind of like Throw Burrito. I wonder if it's from the same people.
I also like Scattergories is always fun. I like word games.
I'm too competitive with that, and I don't let people prove me wrong, so I don't play that one as much.
Oh, are you thinking of Scrabble?
No, Scattergories that's where you put like try to answer the questions with like the letter P.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'll be like, oh, potato is round. They'll be like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, look at this potato. It's round. Like, I just argue too much.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, that's fun. So you guys play a lot of games together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's probably really healthy to, like, connect.
Yeah. It's fun because we just, like, put our phones away and we're just, like, being weird together, which is my favorite activity.
That's cute. Do you read a lot?
I am not a big reader. No, I should be, but I'm not.
I just often wonder, like, how you occupy your time.
You know what? I often wonder how I occupy my time.
It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I have a really short attention span, so I like to bounce around from, like, crafting to an episode of The Office, to playing with my dogs, to washing 7 dishes. So
you said you do crafting?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what kind of crafting stuff are you doing?
I am into watercolors right now.
Oh, art?
I kind of cycle through, but right now it's watercolors.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, like, hobbies that you have. Because I guess this was something that was coming up for me because I feel like I don't have, like, hobbies anymore. Like, I was just thinking about when I was a kid, and it was like, I used to play outside a lot, but I also, like, I took violin lessons. I took piano. Like, there are so many different, I'm in 2 different choirs. I was in soccer. I was in swimming. Like, there's sports and activities you do. But I also just think about when you're a kid and you like I used to build little doll houses for our toy mice. Yeah, I was just thinking about like the way you are as a kid. And I wonder if it's different for kids now who are more plugged in. But I feel like I'm less creative the more TV film that I watch, unless I'm watching something that like inspires me in a specific screenwriting way.
Interesting.
What do you do with the watercolors?
I really like painting like sunsets and then putting trees in front of it. I can send you a picture if you want.
How
so I can find one.
Soothing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just bounce around. Like, I bought a soldering kit, so I was, like, making jewelry for a while. And I decorate cookies, and I like to bake, and I just like to create stuff. I'm really hands-on. In all my drawers, I have, like, Fidget Toys, like moon sand and squishy things, and cause I'm just always fidgeting and messing with stuff.
I love the Fidget Toys. My wife Kim has gotten me a few Fidget Cubes throughout the time of our life together, and I really like them. I guess I never realized how fidgety I was, but I have to have something in my hand, like a pen. I have to be like clicking or something.
Yeah, me too. And it's hard because, like, at work, I'll be testing kids in a quiet room, and I want to be, like, messing with stuff, and I can't because I know it's distracting to them. So it's, like, a real test when I'm like, oh, they're working so hard, but I really need to be moving.
I have to take the Fidget Cube with me when I go to the movies, because it's not great to be like fidgeting around in your seat when you're supposed to be like watching the movie. So if I have the Fidget Cube, it just gives me something to do with my right hand, and then like I'm good, I can sit still. I really love like having something to like twist, like if it's like a hairband, like I want to like twist it in knots a lot, but it helps me to focus. Like I know that like fidget spinners kind of became a joke for a while. I have
a fidget spinner. So.
I know people actually like them, but for me, I don't think I would find it that helpful because it does it for you. Like it moves, whereas like I want to be moving the thing. Like I want to be like, messing around with like a puzzle piece or something that I can like flip around. But I kind of, what fidget toy I think I would enjoy the most is like those tangles where it's like a one long like piece of string kind of looking thing, and you can like tangle it around. I don't know how to describe it.
So like curvy plastic pieces that are like stuck together.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to have one of those. Because I've always been antsy. My mom, before fidgets were a thing, she would buy me those toys, and I'd keep them in my desk at school.
They had a thing like that at Cracker Barrel when I was a kid, where it was all different blocks, and they were connected by one string. And the blocks you could like build things out of, very basic things, but like you could do like a square or a rectangle, or like you could move the blocks in different directions.
I love those things. We have fidgets at school, or at my school, for the kids who have like attention problems, and they get broken really fast. But I think it's cool that we provide them for the kids, even though they destroy them.
Well, I think that was the problem with fidget spinners, was it became like a distraction, and it also became something that like people were trying to like do tricks with, as opposed to like, for me, the fidget spinner, like I don't think about it. Like once I have it, it gives me something to do, and then I can focus on what the person is saying.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think fidget spinners, you're like, it's too hands-on, whereas like a fidget cube you don't have to look at. I don't know.
So what do you do with the art that you create?
It depends. I give it as gifts to like family sometimes, because my family's really like, we like giving lots of gifts, but I want to give something personal. So like giving someone a scarf is cool, but if you give them a scarf and a homemade painting, I don't know, it just feels more personal. So I like to give it away, and most of the rest of it's just in a drawer.
I just had an episode of my podcast that was with Caitlin where we talked about love languages, and
I was listening to that today.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. A devoted listener. Happy to have you on here. But I was talking about how like that is my like greatest love language, is like a combination of words of affirmation and gift giving, which is like, I don't need a gift that's like an expensive Louis Vuitton purse or something. And then like, if someone says nice words to me, I'm like, well, that's nice, but I'm going to forget it. But if someone like wrote down like a letter and gifted it to me, or created art and gifted it to me, like those are my very favorite, like most meaningful. So if you ever want to make me a sunset watercolor, would thrill me. I love that. Yeah, those are my like favorite kinds of gifts.
Oh, well, I will start doing that. I'm really bad at mail. I'm just trying to figure out how to mail things as a grown-up. So I will try to figure out how to send you some paintings.
I love snail mail. That's my hobby. Look at me.
You send the best letters. It's lovely.
I just think it's so fun. It makes me, and especially since now I go nowhere. Like it's the highlight of my day. Like, has the mail come yet? Like I go on check several times a day. And I feel lately like I've become, all I can think of is movie references. There's a movie called 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. And they're like it's a musical, and these women get like kidnapped, which sounds intense, but it's not. And they just live in this cabin with these 7 brothers for a while, and like for the winter until they can be rescued. It sounds horrifying, but it's actually charming.
It's like Snow White, but way more intense.
It's a lot. But anyways, they're like frozen in the winter. Like they are just waiting till the winter thaws so they can go into town. But I feel like I'm one of these like Little House on the Prairie, like I'm in like a rural cabin somewhere now. And whenever my wife Kim goes to work every day, I feel like I'm like, she's going to town? Like, let me write a list. And then like, because I don't go anywhere. And I'm like, oh, when you ride into town on your carriage, I hope the general store has fabric, and then I can sew a tablecloth. Like, I just feel like all the supplies.
House on the Prairie.
Like, I get now why it was so exciting to go into town every 6 months.
Yeah, I've seen memes where it's like, I understand why my dog gets so excited to go for walks now.
I've become the house dog. When someone walks by, I'm like, who are they? But I wait for my human to come home. I watch the door, and I get out on my walk once a day.
So yeah, you are.
I am the house dog. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly this sounds so ungrateful, but I am jealous of people who are staying home right now. Because I'm such a homebody. So I get jealous when I hear people that don't have to leave their house.
I think about that of like people who are like bored right now. And I'm like, what? Like, you and I were talking about this before we started podcasting, but like, it's so stressful not having, oh my gosh, my wife just texted me. There's an urgent care next to her workplace. And she says, I just saw someone from the urgent care giving a COVID test to someone in their car. Like, that's what my wife is dealing with. And I'm over here like, I got a new haircut and no one can see it because I'm quarantined. Like, my problems are so not, except that like I do think you're allowed to be sad if you're not having graduation or not having prom or you're not having your wedding. Like you're still allowed to be sad about this stuff, and so don't let anyone shame you into not being sad. But I'm not going to compare my lack of people seeing my new haircut with wondering whether or not my significant other is going to have a funeral. Like that, it's so horrific what's happening. And when you look at the numbers, you're like, this is so real. And even though I'm Little House on the Prairie away, stuck in my cabin, like it's still happening. And so like, I don't get to go to Disney for my birthday this year. Like I'm legitimately sad. But this thing where people are like, haha, I'm making a toilet paper throne and isn't it funny? And you're like, if you're able to like, it's a complicated thing because again, you need to be able to laugh to get through it. I don't want to like poo-poo on anyone's coping mechanisms right now. But back to your point, which is, you probably like are stressed having to go to work. Like that's probably scary for you. I'm speaking because I know it's scary for my wife to have to go to work every day, but you are essential. But it's like, I mean, being home is, again, if you're being home and you're not being paid, like, I just don't have a job anymore. That's scary because I'm like, it's going to run out. I'm unemployed. It's not a vacation. And so there's some stress along with that. Again, it's really complicated, and I understand there's a lot to it, but I would say that it is a real problem, and it's going to take longer and longer for the quarantine, the longer people continue to go out and see their friends and not take it seriously. So please take it seriously and please stay home. But also, like, the essential workers right now are not in a good place, a lot of them. And I'm lucky that I don't have to keep going to work, even though it doesn't feel like that because I'm stressed about money. But like the fact that I might not get infected and die or get infected and infect other people is kind of a privilege. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 kids in quarantine right now that are suspected of having it, and the kids have to have a staff with them. So there's a staff literally going in every day, sitting with kids who are potential cases, and because they have to. And it's nothing like what the healthcare workers are doing, but like, we also, like, healthcare workers are kind of being, like, acknowledged for how hard they're working, which is awesome, and they deserve it. But, you know, like, I'm thinking about, like, my security guards who are literally still getting punched in the face by these kids and still have to go to work, and they're, like, so underappreciated. And I'm a teacher's aide. It's so different for me. But these security guards, like, they're sitting with kids who have threatened to kill them before, who is coughing, and they're still taking care of them. So, like, they're just being awesome. It's really weird.
It is weird. And it changes all the time, like, how serious it is, as well as, like, I don't know, just our responses to, like, the whole thing where it's like, don't wear face masks, and now it's like, you can't go outside if you don't wear a face mask. Like, in California, it's like, you have to.
Yeah, we have to wear face masks at work.
You know, so it's like, it keeps changing, the information keeps changing, and then there's a lot just, like, unknown about it, so it is really, like, unprecedented. But I guess, like, that's kind of my thing with this podcast is, like, I want to hear people's experience of, like, I've talked to a lot of people who are staying at home, who are working. So it's interesting to hear from you as, like, an essential worker who's still going out every day. But I also, like, I want to hear where people are at, how it's affected them. But I also want to just kind of, like, have a fun chat and, like, laugh some. But then I always feel bad when I have, like, what feels like a frivolous, you know, like, I mean, I talked about movies earlier today, and that was so fun. But then I'm like, people are dying. This is not what I should be making. But then I also feel like you kind of need some escape from it. So I'm trying to balance that out. And
I mean, honestly, I think what you're doing is absolutely lovely. I was sitting at work today listening to your podcast while I, like, cleaned my desks and computers and stuff, because I was listening to you and Caitlin talking, and I was like, oh, I miss them, and it made me happy. So, like, you're bringing joy to people while they're, you know, I was at work, being essential, sort of, listening to my dear friends being cute together. So it's lovely. I'm really happy you're doing this.
Leave a 5-star review. Thank you. Tell me more.
I don't understand technology, but I'll figure it out.
I guess my whole thing with it is, like, I only make it as long as I enjoy it. And so even if no one else listens, which is kind of my, like, when I'm making these, I'm not thinking about an audience because, again, I, like, don't get that many views, but that's not why. When I've had that attitude before, when I've been like, oh, I'm tracking views and this and that, I don't enjoy it, and I start to shape my content based on what I think the audience wants. Whereas, like, right now, I'm trying to keep it as, like, what would I want to listen to, and I want to hear my friend's experience, so I'm trying to ask about that. Yeah. And then I'm also, like, wanting to just reach out and laugh with people, so that's where I'm trying to keep it at, just, like, continuing to make it for me. So, because if I were really trying to make it, I would have a more solid, like, length, because right now they're rapidly different lengths, and there's not, like, I guess that was my thing that always kept me from doing a podcast, was that, like, I don't have a catch, you know. It's not like, oh, I'm Julia nobody going through Julia Child's cookbook. Like, I need to have a catch, so there's no, like, specific hook. It's just a chat with friends. But
you're your own catch. much. You're the best.
It's the cat perspective. That's what people are here for. But anywho, well, I appreciate your time today. And
thank you. I miss you. I don't think I've talked to anyone on the phone except my mother since quarantine happened. So this is really nice.
Well, that's an honor that you spoke to me. I appreciate it. Your time was very meaningful to me, and I do appreciate you. I know that you're an essential worker, so it means a lot that on your time off you were checking in and chatting with us.
Of course.
So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for everyone listening, and I'm going to give Kim the final meow.
Meow?
Nailed it.